The woman sitting across from me in that courtroom, trying to convince a judge I couldn't manage my own money, was my mother. The same woman who hadn't called me in 21 years. My name is Freya. I'm 58 years old. I have a finance degree, a job I worked hard for, a mortgage I pay on time, and a credit score I spent 6 years building. Or I used to. Because a few years ago, on a Tuesday morning in March, two things happened simultaneously that I still can't fully explain. First, my phone rang. Unknown number, Virginia area code. I almost let it go to voicemail. "Hi, baby. It's Mom." The last time I heard that voice, I was 17 years old, standing on my grandmother's porch, watching a blue sedan pull out of the driveway. She didn't wave. She didn't look back. She just disappeared for 22 years. And now she was back. While she was still talking, telling me she'd changed, she'd found stability, she wanted to make things right, my laptop pinged. A credit alert from my bank. "Significant change detected. Your score has dropped 90 points overnight." Two events, same morning, same minute. I don't believe in coincidences. I pulled my full credit report that evening. What I saw made my stomach drop. My score, which I'd carefully built to 780, was sitting at 520. 4 credit cards I never opened, a personal loan I never applied for, a department store account from a state I've never visited. Total outstanding debt attached to my name, $43,000. Some of these accounts went back a decade. One card was opened when I was 18, the year I started college. I called the credit bureau. The woman on the line was kind, but her answer wasn't. Each account has to be investigated individually. It could take months. Months. $43,000 in my name, and the best answer anyone had was months? Let me tell you who actually raised me. My grandmother, Ruth Warren, worked 30 years as a bookkeeper for the county clerk's office. She wasn't wealthy, but she was steady. She kept every receipt, filed every tax return on time, taught me that money was something you respected, not something you chased. When my mother walked out, Ruth didn't chase her either. She just picked me up, set me on her hip, and said, "You're staying with me now, baby." And that was the right call. I earned a scholarship, graduated with a finance degree, got a job as an analyst, bought a used Honda Civic with my own savings, started paying down a 1-bedroom apartment on a 15-year mortgage. Then, 2 years ago, Ruth passed away. Pancreatic cancer. Fast and cruel. She left me the house, her savings account, about $120,000, and a filing cabinet in the hallway closet that held everything. My birth certificate, my Social Security card, insurance forms, school records. Ruth trusted the world more than it deserved, and someone knew exactly where that cabinet was. 3 days after that phone call, my mother showed up at my office. Standing in the lobby, pressed blouse, pearl earrings, daubing her eyes with a tissue. The second she saw me, she crossed the room and wrapped her arms around me. "Oh, Thea, my baby!" Just loud enough for everyone nearby to hear. I didn't hug her back. I stood still and waited for her to let go. She talked for 20 minutes. She'd changed. She was sorry. She'd found God, found a good man named Greg. She even had a daughter, Jocelyn, 22 years old. "Your sister, Thea. You have a sister." And then, gently, casually, the questions shifted. "Did your grandmother leave you anything? The house? Savings?" I watched her eyes move as she asked. Her gaze swept across my badge, my desk through the glass door. my shoes. She wasn't reconnecting with me. She was inventorying me. That weekend, I drove to my grandmother's house. I went straight to the filing cabinet. Something was wrong. Ruth Warren filed everything alphabetically. She never misfiled anything in her entire life. But the folders were out of order, and the envelope labeled Social Security had been opened. Not torn, carefully opened, then folded back like someone had handled it and tried to make it look untouched. I sat on the hallway floor and understood exactly what I was looking at. My mother hadn't come back to apologize. She'd come back because she'd been running something, and she needed to know if it was about to catch up with her. In next, I find out just how long she'd been doing this, and the number is going to stop you cold. Drop a comment right now. What would you have done when that phone rang? Picked up or let it go? My coworker Claire is a CPA. She listens to everything I tell her without interrupting, and Claire only goes quiet when she's calculating. When I finish, she doesn't say I'm sorry. She doesn't say that's terrible. She says, 4 cards over 10 years. Freya, this isn't a data breach. Someone has had your Social Security number for a long time. She looks at me across her desk. Who had access to your social when you were a kid? I open my mouth, close it. Think about the filing cabinet, the one in the hallway of my grandmother's house, the house where my mother grew up. Claire and I run a deeper trace on every fraudulent account. What we find doesn't just surprise me, it documents her. The billing addresses on these accounts, every single one, rotates between locations where Donna lived over the past decade. One P.O. box in Southern Virginia, an apartment in North Carolina, an address in Tennessee that would later turn out to belong to Greg, her husband. Then we find something else. At the bottom of the filing cabinet, in a folder my grandmother labeled personal, there's a letter. Donna's handwriting. I recognize it from birthday cards she sent until I was 5. It says, Mama, I need $5,000. Please, I'm desperate. My grandmother never sent the money. She never told me about the letter either. She just kept it, filed it, the way Ruth Warren filed everything, quietly, carefully, in case it was ever needed. Maybe she always knew this day would come. Claire works through the weekend. On Monday, she walks into my cubicle and sets a printed spreadsheet on my desk. 11 rows, color-coded, annotated. Here it is, she says. Every fraudulent account, date opened, credit limit, balance, billing address, and where Donna was living at the time. I scan down the columns. The first card, a retail store account, $500 limit, opened when I was 14 years old. 14. I was in 9th grade learning algebra, and my mother was across the state opening a line of credit under my name. The most recent account, a Visa with a $12,000 limit, opened 6 months ago. Some applications were filed online. Claire cross-referenced 3 of them from IP addresses, all from regions where Donna was living at the time. Then Claire taps one row, highlighted in red. This one, she says. It was opened 3 weeks after your grandmother's funeral. I stare at the date. 3 weeks. Ruth Warren was barely in the ground. The flowers on her grave hadn't wilted yet. And Donna was already applying for a new line of credit in my name. She paid the minimums on most accounts, just enough to keep them active, just enough to stay beneath the fraud-alert threshold. Claire closes her laptop and looks at me. This isn't impulsive, Freya. This is a system. Then the envelope arrives. Monday morning, I sign for it at the mailbox, assuming it's connected to my credit dispute. It isn't. It's from the county court. Inside is a formal petition for guardianship filed by Donna Marsh, requesting that she be appointed my legal guardian, on the grounds that I lack mental and cognitive capacity to manage my own financial affairs. I read it twice, then a third time. Attached is a psychiatric evaluation signed by Dr. Raymond P., stating that I exhibit signs of emotional fragility, impaired judgment, and an inability to make sound financial decisions. I have never met this man. I have never been evaluated by any psychiatrist. The relief requested is comprehensive: full control of my bank accounts, management of my inherited property, authority over my vehicle title, oversight of all financial decisions. Everything. She wants everything. And the legal representative filing this petition on her behalf? Greg Marsh, Esquire, her husband. I call Marcus Bell. He's a family law attorney who practiced in Charlottesville for 30 years. More importantly, he was my grandmother's friend. They went to the same church. He handled her will. I read him the petition over the phone. When I finish, there's a pause, the kind that means a calm man is choosing his words very carefully. "Freya," he says, "this is not a guardianship case. This is a financial takeover dressed in legal language." He tells me the hearing is 6 weeks out. We need hard evidence. And then he says something that makes the hair on my arm stand up. "Don't let Donna know you're preparing. Not a word." Then Jocelyn reaches out on Instagram. Her profile is all selfies and motivational quotes, the kind of account that's been designed to look harmless. Her message is simple. "Hi, Freya. I know this is weird, but I'd love to meet my big sister." Against my better judgment, I agree. We meet at a coffee shop near campus. She's 22, bright-eyed, wearing a sundress, orders an iced latte, and immediately starts talking about how difficult Donna can be. "Mom's intense," she says, rolling her eyes, like we're bonding. Then the questions shift. "How are you holding up since your grandmother passed? Are you managing okay financially? Have you thought about getting professional help?" No judgment in her voice, completely casual, but each question lands with surgical precision. She's not here to meet her sister. She was here on assignment. And now I know exactly what this family is doing. Total outstanding debt in my name, $87,000. 11 credit cards, 3 personal loans, 14 years of slow, careful, calculated theft, timed perfectly beneath every fraud alert, every credit threshold, every system designed to catch exactly this. She knew what she was doing. She'd been doing it since I was a teenager. And now she was standing in a courtroom with a fake psychiatric evaluation and a landlord husband trying to convince a judge that I was the one who couldn't be trusted with money. But here's what Donna didn't know. Marcus had just found something about that psychiatrist, something that was about to change everything. Comment below. At what point would you have stopped being polite? Tell me exactly where your line is. Marcus called me on a Wednesday evening. His voice was measured, but I could hear the edge underneath it. "I found something on the psychiatrist," he said. "Dr. Raymond P., the man who signed a sworn evaluation claiming I was mentally unfit to manage my own life, had his medical license revoked 2 years ago by the Virginia Board of Medicine. The reason? Providing fabricated psychological evaluations for use in legal proceedings. 3 separate complaints, 3 separate attorneys. He was caught, sanctioned, and stripped of his credentials. He can't legally practice. He can't sign medical documents. The evaluation Donna submitted to the court, the one calling me emotionally fragile and cognitively impaired, is completely worthless." "How did she find him?" I asked. Marcus paused. That's the interesting part. Greg Marsh used Poole as an expert witness in a property dispute 4 years ago, before the license was revoked. They have a history. Greg, the lawyer husband, the man who drafted the guardianship petition, personally selected the discredited evaluator and sat at the petitioner's table like everything was above board. This wasn't Donna acting alone. This was planned. Greg provided the legal architecture, Donna provided the performance, and they went shopping for a doctor willing to rubber stamp whatever story they needed. Marcus, I said, if they faked the evaluation, what else did they fake? He was quiet for a moment. That is exactly the question I'm going to answer. 1 week before the hearing, an envelope appears in my mailbox. No return address, handwritten. I open it at the kitchen table. 4 pages, front and back. Donna's looping cursive. She writes about the agony of being separated from her firstborn, sleepless nights, a version of our history where she was forced to leave, where my grandmother blocked her from seeing me, where she wrote letters that were never delivered. She's blaming a dead woman, a woman who cannot defend herself. Tucked into the fold, a photograph. Me at age 4, sitting on a stool in our old kitchen. I recognize it immediately. It's from my grandmother's album, the one that sat on the shelf in the Maple Ridge house. Donna took it when she went through that filing cabinet. Then I get to the last paragraph. The handwriting tightens, the tone shifts. If you fight me in court, everyone will know you rejected your own mother. Is that the kind of person you want to be, Freya? Think carefully. She signed it, Love, Mom. She underlined love twice, as if pressing the pen harder could make it true. I scanned every page, front and back. Then I emailed the scans to Marcus with one line, for the file. Because here's what Donna doesn't understand about me. I'm a financial analyst. My entire job is reading documents, catching inconsistencies, and following numbers to where they lead. She sent me 4 pages of emotion. All I saw was evidence. That Saturday, I drove to Maple Ridge to collect the last documents Marcus needed. When I turned the corner onto the street, my chest tightened. Donna's silver SUV was in the driveway. The front door was unlocked. I stepped inside and found Donna in the living room, running her hand along the mantel like she was appraising it. Greg stood by the window, arms crossed, sport coat on, in my grandmother's house like it was an open showing. "What are you doing here?" Donna turned slowly. "This is where I grew up, Freya. I have every right to be here." "Your name isn't on the deed, mine is." Greg tilted his head. "No." Greg stepped forward and held out a document, single page, legal size. "Sign this, voluntary guardianship agreement. You won't have to go to court. We handle everything quietly." I looked at the paper. I didn't touch it. "No." Greg tilted his head. "Courts don't look kindly on young women who refuse their family's help." Donna started crying on cue like a faucet turning. "Why are you making this so hard? I'm trying to protect you." "Protect me from what? My own bank account?" I pulled out my phone. "I'm calling the non-emergency line. You can wait or you can leave." Greg put his hand on Donna's arm. "Let's go. We'll see her in court." When they left, I checked the filing cabinet. 2 folders were thinner than before. My second birth certificate copy was gone. I locked the door, changed the keypad code, and called Marcus. 4 days before the hearing, I sat in Marcus's office and watched him lay everything on the conference table, like a surgeon preparing instruments. Folder 1, a real psychiatric evaluation, conducted by Dr. Sarah Whitfield, board-certified, active Virginia license, 90 minutes with me. Her conclusion, no cognitive impairment, no instability, no diminished capacity whatsoever, fully competent. Folder 2, 6 years of tax returns, employment records, and payment history, on-time rent, a mortgage in good standing, performance reviews using words like thorough, reliable, exemplary. Folder 3, Dr. Raymond P.'s disciplinary record, license revoked, board complaint summaries, his documented connection to Greg Marsh. Folder 4, Clare's complete identity theft timeline, 11 cards, 3 loans, $87,000, addresses, dates, IP cross-references. Folder 5, the FTC Identity Theft Report, the police case number, official credit bureau confirmations. Marcus squared the edges of the stack and looked at me. We don't go in swinging. We let them build their case first. Then we lay this on the table and let the judge draw her own conclusions. He paused. Freya, we're not just trying to defeat the petition. We're going to give the court grounds to refer this for criminal prosecution. He held my gaze. Your grandmother asked me to look after you if anything ever happened to her. I gave her my word. I signed the last document. The ink was steady. The courtroom was smaller than I expected. No marble, no gallery full of strangers, just a wood-paneled room on the 3rd floor of the county courthouse, fluorescent lights, hard-backed benches, and Judge Patricia Holt sitting high and still behind the bench, greeting glasses perched on her nose. Donna sat at the petitioner's table. Simple black dress, no jewelry except a thin gold chain, eyes already red before proceedings even began, a tissue folded precisely in her left hand. She looked like a woman carved from grief. Greg sat beside her, briefcase open, legal pad covered in notes, nodding at the clerk like he did this every week. Behind them in the gallery, 4 people I half recognized, distant relatives, Donna's people, watching me with that particular mix of concern and judgment that meant they'd already heard the story, Donna's version. Jocelyn sat at the end of the 2nd row, hands clasped, looking straight ahead. I walked in with Marcus, white button-down, dark slacks, hair pulled back. I carried nothing except a water bottle. Marcus carried the folders. Greg stood first and spoke in the smooth, practiced cadence of someone who sells calm for a living. Your Honor, my client Donna Marsh is a devoted mother seeking to protect her adult daughter from financial decisions she's not equipped to make. He used the word love 3 times in 2 minutes. Then Jocelyn took the stand. She walked to the witness chair like she was walking to a dentist's appointment, stiff, rehearsed, avoiding my eyes. She told the judge I'd seemed paranoid, suspicious, hostile, that our coffee meeting had broken her heart. Every word landed with surgical precision because someone had spent 2 days coaching her to say exactly this. Marcus didn't challenge a single word. He looked at me and wrote 1 word on his legal pad. He tilted it toward me. Wait. Donna took the stand next. She blamed my grandmother, a dead woman who couldn't speak for herself. She described me as overwhelmed, erratic, and fragile. She looked at the judge with wet, unblinking eyes and performed grief like it was the only language she knew. The gallery was nodding, Greg was smiling, and I sat at that table with my hands flat and still because I knew something everyone else in that room didn't. Marcus hadn't opened a single folder yet. Marcus stands up, and what happens in the next 12 minutes will make Greg Marsh's pen freeze mid-note and turn Donna's composure to ice right in front of the judge. Comment below, do you think the court system actually protects people in situations like this, or does it favor whoever tells the better story? I want to hear what you think. Judge Holt turned to Marcus. Counselor, your response. Marcus stood slowly. He buttoned his jacket. He placed one hand on the stack of folders in front of him. He didn't rush. Your Honor, he said, I'd like to present evidence that this petition is not only unfounded, but is part of an ongoing criminal scheme against my client." The nodding in the gallery stopped. Greg's pen froze mid-note, and Donna, for the first time since I'd seen her again, stopped crying. Marcus didn't raise his voice. He didn't need to. Before addressing the substance of the guardianship petition, I asked the court's permission to present contextual evidence regarding the petitioner's credibility and the legitimacy of the documents before you. Judge Holt nodded. "Proceed." Marcus opened the first folder. "Your Honor, this is a comprehensive psychiatric evaluation of Miss Freya Warren conducted last month by Dr. Sarah Whitfield, a board-certified psychiatrist with an active license in the state of Virginia." He handed the document to the clerk, who passed it to the judge. Dr. Whitfield found no cognitive impairment, no emotional instability, and no diminished capacity of any kind. Miss Warren is, in every measurable sense, fully competent. He opened the second folder. "These are Miss Warren's tax returns, employment records, and payment history spanning 6 years. On-time rent, a mortgage in good standing, consistent performance evaluations." He paused. "This is not a woman who cannot manage her own affairs." Then Marcus opened the third folder. He didn't look at Donna. He looked at the judge. "Your Honor, the evaluation submitted by the petitioner was signed by Dr. Raymond P. I'd like to enter into the record that Dr. P's medical license was revoked 2 years ago by the Virginia Board of Medicine for providing fabricated evaluations in legal proceedings." The clerk's typing stopped. Judge Holt removed her glasses. Greg shifted in his chair. "Mr. Marsh," the judge said, eyes moving to Greg, "were you aware that Dr. Poole's license had been revoked?" Greg cleared his throat. "I wasn't involved in selecting the evaluator, Your Honor." The room absorbed that answer in silence. Marcus closed the folder. "But that's only the beginning, Your Honor." He reached for the fourth folder, and I watched the color leave Greg's face. Marcus spread the timeline across the clerk's desk. 11 pages, color-coded, annotated with dates, addresses, and account numbers. "Your Honor, over the past 6 weeks, my client discovered that 11 credit cards and 3 personal loans were opened in her name using her Social Security number without her knowledge or consent. The total fraudulent debt exceeds $87,000. He walked the judge through it, card by card, year by year. The first account was opened when Miss Warren was 14 years old. He let that number sit. The most recent was opened 6 months ago. Every billing address traces to a residence occupied by the petitioner, Donna Marsh, or her husband, Gregory Marsh." He placed the FTC report in front of the judge, the police case number, the official credit bureau confirmations. Each document laid down like a card face up on the table. "The woman who claims my client cannot manage her finances has been illegally managing them without permission for over a decade." A sharp intake of breath from the gallery. One of Donna's relatives leaned forward, mouth open. Donna sat frozen at the petitioner's table, her tissue still in her hand, but she wasn't using it anymore. Then Marcus pulled out one final page. "This credit card, Your Honor, a Visa, opened 3 weeks after the death of Miss Warren's grandmother, Ruth Warren." Judge Holt looked up from the document. She looked at Donna. The room was so quiet I could hear the clock on the wall. 3 weeks, Marcus repeated. The flowers on the grave were still fresh. Judge Holt turned to Donna. "Miss Marsh, you may respond to these allegations." Donna's composure cracked, not slowly, all at once, like ice breaking under weight. I don't know anything about this." Her voice had lost her rehearsed tremble. Now it was just raw. "Someone must have stolen her information. It wasn't me." Marcus reached into the folder without a word. He pulled out 2 documents and held them side by side. "Your Honor, this is a letter written by Donna Marsh to her mother, Ruth Warren, approximately 8 years ago, requesting $5,000. He set it down. "And this is the signature on the application for the fraudulent visa ending in 4471. He placed them next to each other on the clerk's desk. "The handwriting is consistent. I would respectfully request a formal graphology analysis if there is any doubt." Greg stood. "Objection. Relevance." Judge Holt didn't look at him. "Overruled. Sit down, Mr. Marsh." Donna turned in her chair, not toward the judge, toward me. Her face was mascara and fury and something that looked almost like desperation. "You owe me, Freya. I gave you life." The bailiff took a step forward. "You owe me, Freya. I gave you life." I looked at her across the room. My voice was level, clear, not loud. "You gave me life," I said. "Then you left it. Then you tried to take it over." Judge Holt's gavel cracked once. "Order. Miss Marsh, you will compose yourself or you will be removed." Donna slumped back. In the second row, Jocelyn stared at her lap. Her hands were shaking. Marcus wasn't finished. "Your Honor, I have one final matter." He opened the last section of his file. "During our investigation, we obtained the petitioner's financial records via subpoena. Within those records, we found that Gregory Marsh, the petitioner's husband and legal representative in this very proceeding, co-signed on 2 of the loans taken out using Miss Warren's stolen Social Security number." The courtroom stilled. The clerk stopped typing. Even the fluorescent lights seemed to quiet. Judge Holt leaned forward. "Mr. Marsh, is this accurate?" Greg's mouth opened, closed, opened again. He looked like a man who had just realized the floor beneath him had disappeared. "Your Honor, those loans were—" He stopped, started over. "I'd like to request a recess." "Denied." Judge Holt's voice was flat as stone. "You are representing the petitioner in a guardianship case while being potentially complicit in identity fraud against the respondent. The court takes that very seriously." She turned to the bailiff. "Note this for referral to the Virginia State Bar for investigation." Greg sat down. He didn't touch his legal pad again. And then, something nobody expected. Jocelyn stood up in the gallery. Her voice was small, but steady. "I didn't know about any of this." The room turned. Donna's head snapped toward her daughter. "Mom told me Freya was mentally ill," Jocelyn said. "She told me what to say. She coached me for 2 days. I thought I was helping." She looked at me. Her eyes were red, but not from performance, from the thing that happens when reality rearranges itself in front of you all at once. "I'm sorry, Freya. I didn't know." Donna grabbed Jocelyn's arm. "Sit down right now." Jocelyn pulled her arm free. The bailiff stepped between them. Judge Holt removed her glasses. She set them on the bench, folded her hands, and looked at the room for a long moment before speaking. "This court has reviewed the petition and examined the evidence submitted by both parties." She turned to Donna. "The petition for guardianship over Freya Warren is denied in its entirety. The respondent has demonstrated full cognitive, emotional, and financial capacity. The evaluation submitted in support of your petition was signed by a physician whose license was revoked, rendering it inadmissible. and the testimony of your witness has been recanted by the witness herself." Donna didn't move. Her tissue was wadded in her fist. "Furthermore," Judge Holt continued, "the evidence of identity theft presented by the respondent is deeply concerning to this court. I am referring the full record to the county prosecutor's office for criminal review." She looked at Greg. "Mr. Marsh, your potential involvement in the fraudulent accounts will be referred to the Virginia State Bar. I strongly suggest you retain separate counsel. Finally, I am issuing a temporary restraining order. Donna Marsh, Gregory Marsh, and Jocelyn Marsh are prohibited from contacting, visiting, or communicating with Freya Warren by any means, effective immediately." The gavel fell. The sound echoed in that small room like a period at the end of a very long sentence. The bailiff escorted Donna toward the door. She turned once, looked at me, and said quietly, almost to herself, "She's my daughter." The door closed behind her. Marcus put his hand on my shoulder. "It's over, Freya." I reached into my jacket pocket, felt the folded note, Ruth's handwriting, still there. I didn't cry. I breathed. The courtroom emptied. The folders sat stacked on the table, 5 of them, holding 14 years of evidence that one woman never expected anyone to find. She'd spent over a decade building a system. Clare and Marcus and I dismantled it in 6 weeks. But here's what I didn't know yet. Walking out of that courthouse, the criminal charges, the disbarment, the credit recovery, the backup plan Donna had running the entire time, and one more discovery that would tell me she never stopped, not even while she was sitting in that courtroom crying. Comment below. When Jocelyn stood up and spoke, did she deserve forgiveness? Or does lying on the stand cross a line that sorry can't fix? Tell me what you think. 2 weeks after the hearing, the dominoes started falling. The county prosecutor reviewed the referral and opened a formal investigation. Within a month, Donna Marsh was charged under federal identity theft statutes. 11 counts of fraudulent use of a Social Security number, 3 counts of credit fraud. Combined potential sentence 5 to 15 years. Her attorney negotiated a plea to avoid trial. 3 years, federal prison, $87,000 in restitution ordered. I was told she cried in the courtroom when the sentence was read. I wasn't there. I didn't need to be. Greg Marsh was permanently disbarred by the Virginia State Bar. 3 days after the suspension, a former client filed an additional ethics complaint. Apparently, my case wasn't where Greg's problems started. Dr. Raymond P., the psychiatrist who signed the fabricated evaluation, was referred to the state attorney general's office. His cooperation with Greg Marsh went back further than anyone initially realized. And Jocelyn. She sent a written apology through her attorney, 2 pages. It read as genuine. I read it once. I didn't respond. Maybe one day. Not yet. During the prosecutor's review of Donna's financial records, they found something else. 2 additional credit cards, both opened in my name, both applied for the week before the hearing. Cash advances, maximum limits, both maxed out within days. She wasn't just fighting for guardianship. She was running a backup plan, draining what she could before the window closed. I stared at the notification from the credit bureau and understood something completely. She never stopped. Not for 21 years. Not when she was sitting in that courtroom. Not even when Marcus was laying the evidence in front of the judge. She was still running the same play right up until the moment the gavel fell. That's not desperation. That's who she is. 6 months later, my credit score sat at 720. It took dozens of phone calls, 3 rounds of disputes, and a stack of FTC paperwork thick enough to use as a doorstop. But the fraudulent accounts are gone. All of them. My name is clean again. I froze my credit permanently. Social Security number locked, every account monitored. Nobody opens anything in my name without my explicit authorization. At work, my supervisor, Tom, pulled me aside on my first day back. "I owe you an apology," he said. "I should have asked what was going on before suggesting you take time off." I told him it was fine, and I meant it. People make assumptions. The ones who correct themselves are the ones worth keeping around. The relatives who'd texted Bible verses about honoring thy mother started calling after the verdict. Cousin Linda left a voicemail. "Freya, honey, I had no idea. I'm so sorry." I listened to it once. I didn't call back. On a Saturday in late spring, I brought a box of cleaning supplies to the house on Maple Ridge and spent the whole day there. Washed the windows, swept the porch, wiped down the kitchen cabinets with the lemon cleaner Ruth always kept under the sink, like she knew I'd need it eventually. I emptied the filing cabinet completely, reorganized everything into a new system, digital copies, encrypted drives, a locked safe in the bedroom closet. No more trusting the world the way Ruth did. I love her for it, but I won't repeat it. At 4 o'clock, Clare pulled into the driveway with a bottle of wine and a bag of takeout. She didn't ask how I was doing. She just held up the bag. "Pad CU? Extra lime." We ate on the porch. The sun went down and turned everything copper. She told me about a guy she'd been texting. I told her the porch railing needed replacing. Normal things, small things. "You going to move in?" she asked. "Yeah," I said. "I think so." The house creaked in the same spots it always creaked. The screen door still stuck. The garden was overgrown. But it was mine. Not because Ruth left it to me, because I fought to keep it. Marcus called on a Tuesday evening a few weeks later. His voice had the settled quality of a man who's checked something off a long list he'd been carrying a long time. "The judge's referral led to a policy review," he said. "They're updating the verification protocol for guardianship petitions in our county. Evaluating physicians' credentials will now be mandatory before any hearing proceeds. Because of my case. It won't fix everything, but it will make it harder for someone to do what Donna did." "Ruth would be proud of you, Freya," Marcus said. "I know that for certain." I felt something shift in my chest. Not sadness, not relief. Something between, like a door closing gently behind me. "Thank you for everything, Marcus." "Don't thank me," he said. "You saved yourself. I just kept the promise I made to your grandmother." On a Sunday in September, I sat on the porch at Maple Ridge, glass of iced tea on the railing, a book in my lap I hadn't opened. Sometimes the porch is enough. I reached into the small drawer of the side table, the one Ruth kept her reading glasses in, and pulled out the slip of paper I'd found months ago. I've read it 100 times, but I unfolded it again. "Freya, everything in this house is yours. Don't let anyone tell you otherwise." I used to think she meant the house itself, the walls, the roof, the filing cabinet full of records. But sitting there in September light, I understood what she actually meant. She meant the mornings I spent doing homework at that kitchen table, the evenings we sat in these same chairs listening to the crickets, the version of me she built, piece by piece, out of patience and rules and Thursday pot roast. That's what's mine, not the wood and plaster. the foundation she poured into me. I took the note to the living room, slid it into a small frame, and hung it on the wall next to her photo, the one with the pruning shears. They looked right together. I want to say something directly because I know some of you watching this right now are dealing with something similar. When someone uses the word love to justify taking your money, controlling your decisions, or making you feel like you can't trust yourself, that's not love, that's leverage. And you don't owe anyone your freedom just because you share their DNA. The people who raised you don't always share your blood, but the people who tried to break you don't get to share your life. My mother gave me a name, my grandmother gave me a life, and when someone tried to take both, I chose to keep what mattered. If this story meant something to you, hit that like button and subscribe so you don't miss what's coming next. And I want to hear from you. Is there someone in your life who uses love as leverage? You don't have to share details. Just drop a single word in the comments that describes how it felt. One word, that's all. I'll read every single one. I'll see you in the next one.